Hey guys, we're waiting for people to join in. We'll give them a couple minutes before we get started. We're looking at world history and the Battle of the Marne, World War I. Hey guys, welcome to World History. We're looking at the Battle of the Marne today in World History 2, for the World War I, the Battle of the Marne. I want to show a quick video here that I think everyone will enjoy. First Battle of the Marne.
Right, here's the next. First World War update, 100 years to the day it happened. This time the Battle of the Marne, one of the great battles of the 20th century. On the 5th of September, the British Army had reached a town 10 miles from Paris called Clay. It was one of the longest retreats in the British history, about 150 miles in 2 weeks. The British fought rearguard actions and then would resume their retreat. The men were exhausted. Their commander, Sir John French, there's our thing about World War I. The British Army went to Belgium to fight the Germans under an Irishman called French. Anyway, the commander, French, seemed to have a collapse in confidence. He wanted to pull out the British forces completely and rebuild them. But he wouldn't have the chance because the crisis of the German invasion in the West had arrived. The Germans were confident they were winning. They thought they had to simply follow the British and French as they retreated, and victory would be theirs. They abandoned their plan to encircle Paris, and instead they headed south after the retreating allies. On this map, the Germans are green, the French are purple, and the British are in a fetching pink. Now, this was a vital turning point. The Germans didn't realize that by doing this, they'd be exposing their right flank to this French Sixth Army. The French commander, General Joffre, saw the opportunity and he ordered his exhausted men to one last attack. They crashed into the German flank. The French were desperate for British support. The British Minister of War, Lord Kitchener, to go out to France and give the British Commander-in-Chief a direct order to attack and not retreat any further. Anyway, the German First Army dealt successfully, fairly, with this French attack, but in doing so, it moved its troops to face the new threat, opening up a gap between them and the neighbouring Second Army next door. Into this gap marched the British Army, albeit fairly slowly. Now, on a battlefield, the enemy in your flanks or your rear is one of the most dire threats. So it's now the turn of some of the German commanders to suffer a major collapse in confidence. Communications had broken down, and there was now a big gap in their front line. One German general had a nervous breakdown. For example, he was up all night crying. As titanic fighting was raging up and down the front line, appalling casualties resulting, and on the 9th of September at 9:02 in the morning, the German army received orders to retreat. Now, this was a turning point, a decisive moment of the First World War. Germany's plan to capture Paris quickly and win the war in the West in weeks had failed. It would not be a short war, and there would be a lot of fighting to come. You can follow it here by subscribing to this channel.
Okay, excellent. So he talked about the different campaign, and I want to take a look at my incredible artistic drawing here. I know, no applause, please. So let's take a look. If you can see well enough, we have Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, Norway's up here, and here's France. So they had what was called the Schleifen plan. So the Germans were going to advance, and you can see the lines, and encircle Paris. So they were going to flank the back of Paris, flank the north side of Paris, and then also flank the western side of Paris. Now, the problem happened is you noticed that when he was talking, they were somewhere around the Nice River here and started to retreat 150 miles back. And what happened was, instead of the Germans sticking to their plan, they ensued, which caused them to break off a flank. One of the generals for, I believe it was France, I think it was Chancellor, saw that and took advantage of it. And so what they did is the French barricaded in at the Marne River, just outside of Paris, and the Germans bedded in just outside of the Marne. A 6-day fight. 500,000 injured or killed in trench warfare. Now, at that time, there were many weapons of choice, from the rifles to mortars to, of course, there was aircraft, machine guns, but it was the artillery that did the most damage. And so artillery could be anywhere from guns of a ship. There's the pull behind, as they would name it, a single shell shooting artillery shell. Just did unbelievable damage, hitting all these guys in the trenches. One thing I wanted to say, after this 6-day battle, it kind of fell back to this line. And this is where the battle stalemated for about 4 years. So for 4 years, this didn't change, and they fought kind of back and forth, no major skirmishes there. But eventually, by the end of the war, this would be called the armistice line, and it'd be the treaty that took care of that. Some of the things that you have to realize is the pressure put on. He talked about the general who had a nervous breakdown, and that was a German general who had a nervous breakdown. Actually cried all night long, and I don't know what they figured out to do for that poor fellow. But the Germans were known to go back after this failure and actually said they had lost the war. And the guy's name was Moltke, Moltke. I thought, and I wanted to share something interesting. Usually you hear of supply lines or the Western Front. Well, this was the Western Front for Germany, okay, or the for Germany and France, okay. It's hard to believe that almost 100,000 people a day were injured and killed in this war. And we have to remember, we don't know for sure if the Germans reported real numbers or not. They could have, you don't want to lose the war. You don't want to tell people you had 500,000 people killed. I don't think that they truly believed they were going to be stopped. When they went to encircle Paris, they thought they would have everybody else in the area fall in line when they took Paris. But what they didn't count on was something called nationalism. Because there's one thing that the French people had that kind of overpowered it all, and that was their pride. And they knew if Paris was taken, they were done. And so even though they retreated, it was a strategic retreat so that they could regroup. Retreats are even used to draw people in as well. Thank you. I appreciate you. Any questions, just email me. Have a good day.